How many decisions will you make today? Not the obvious ones, not the ones on your calendar. All of them. Research suggests that you'll make around 20,000 decisions today. Most of them won't feel significant in the moment. They're shaped by habit, routine, and the pace of the day. And once those decisions are made, they don't disappear. They leave residue. They shape habits, expectations, and processes. They quietly become norms. Over time, their effects stack. They reinforce patterns. They shape how you show up. They shape how people experience you and what you've built. And this is where the tension begins. What you've built may be successful. It may be working. It may be something that you are genuinely proud of. But success has a way of surfacing a deeper question. Is what being built actually aligned with what matters most right now? That tension between what we built and what we're built for is where many leaders live. Not because of bad decisions, but because decisions made in one season quietly carry forward into the next. Decisions shaped by opportunity, by responsibility, by what was required at the time. Those decisions explain where we are, but significance doesn't come from staying where you are. It comes from being intentional about what comes next. And the difference between staying where you are and moving towards significance often comes down to this. Are your decisions being intentionally aimed, or are they simply being shaped by existing patterns? That's a space this episode lives in. Not re-examining the past, but becoming more intentional about the direction your decisions are pointing now. We hear the word culture all the time. Organizations talk about it, leaders reference it, teams feel it. But culture isn't a slogan. It's not a mission statement. It's not what's written in a deck or framed on a wall. Culture shows up in the small moments, in the decisions that get made when no one is watching. It's in what's prioritized when time is tight. It's in what gets tolerated, repeated, or quietly overlooked. Over time, those decisions stop feeling like decisions at all. They simply become what's normal. And that's true for organizations. And it's true for us personally. For leaders, culture is about how people actually experience your leadership and how the outside world experiences the brand. For individuals, culture becomes personal brand. Not what you say about yourself, just who you're known to be. And culture is always forming. If decisions are intentional, culture forms by design. And if they're not, culture forms by default. There's no neutral setting. Every decision either reinforces the culture you want or builds the one you did not intend. Over time, culture starts influencing future decisions. Some choices feel natural. Others feel harder than they should. That's often when awareness begins to show up. Not because anything is falling apart, but because what matters has changed. What once fit the season no longer carries the same weight. And when that happens, the same decision-making patterns won't take you to where you want to go next. Which is where intention starts to really matter. Not to undo the past, not to reject what's been built, but to decide consciously what your decisions will reinforce from here on. And this is where whiskey gives us language for what's happening. A master distiller doesn't walk into a distillery and say, "Let's see what happens." Great whiskey isn't the result of a single brilliant decision. It's the result of many aligned, consistent decisions. All true to what that whiskey and that distillery are meant to be. The mash bill, the yeast, the barrel, the environment, the time. Each decision builds on the one before it. And just as important as what the distiller does is what the distiller doesn't do. They don't change the mash bill on a whim. They don't rush the process because someone is impatient. They don't add ingredients that don't belong. They don't let outside noise redefine the identity of the whiskey. And they don't invite everyone to make decisions about the process. Because when everyone is deciding, no one is directing. And when no one is directing, consistency disappears. You can still make alcohol through random decisions. The process will move forward and something will come out the other end. But you'll end up with a forgettable whiskey when the decisions aren't aligned, consistent, and true to that brand. And that's the parallel. In organizations and in our own lives, unaligned decisions don't stop progress. They dilute significance. Your work will still get done, activity will stay high, momentum continues. But the result lacks depth. It lacks coherence. It lacks meaning. Not because effort is missing, but because alignment is missing. So a few years ago, I named something out loud. I said, I don't want to get old. Not in the sense that I don't expect to age. That's inevitable. But in the sense of losing my freedom. I don't want a future that keeps me on the couch or sidelines me from life. What I was really naming was a vision, not a goal. Freedom, mobility, strength, the ability to go anywhere and do anything I wanted. Goals have endpoints. Lose weight. Go to the gym 5 days a week. Vision does not have an end. Vision reshapes how you live. Once that vision became clear, my decisions finally had something to be measured against. Earlier in my life, different things mattered. I ate whatever I wanted. I trained to get bigger. The decisions that I made fit that season of my life. But that vision shifted. And when what matters shifts, decisions have to shift too. So my daily choices changed. I removed gluten and inflammatory foods. I limited processed foods and sugars. And I choose to move my body every day. Sometimes that movement is lifting weights. Other days it's yoga. Some days Pilates. The activity changes, but the direction doesn't. Over time, those decisions stop requiring energy or even explanation. Anyone who knows me knows how I eat. They know I move my body daily. Not because I announce it, but because consistency creates clarity. Those decisions didn't remain tactics. They became identity. This is simply who I am now because it's aligned with where I want to go. What happens personally is exactly what happens organizationally. Leaders are tasked with curating vision and aligning people, systems, and decisions around that vision. That means a lot of decisions. When a culture is aligned, leadership feels lighter. Decisions filter themselves, and people move with clarity. When culture is misaligned, leadership can feel heavier. More decisions land on the leader's desk. More clarification is required. More energy goes into correcting, controlling, and managing tension. Not because people don't care, but because the decisions are being made without that shared direction. In whiskey making, alignment protects the final expression. In leadership, alignment protects culture. What gets approved? What gets postponed? What keeps getting one more chance? Those decisions teach people what really matters. And over time, culture either becomes intentionally shaped or quietly inherited. That's the leadership moment. Not control, not micromanagement, clarity. If any of this feels familiar, here are a few things worth noticing. What decisions feel heavier than they should right now? That weight is often a sign that those decisions are being made without a clear reference point. What are you having to step into more than you want to? When alignment is missing, leaders compensate with more effort. When the alignment is clear, decisions carry themselves further. What behaviors keep repeating, even though they don't reflect what you say matters most? Patterns like that don't show up by accident. They're reinforced by what's allowed, or rewarded, or left unchecked. Those aren't failures. Those are signals. Signals that culture, whether organizational or personal, is being shaped somewhere other than intention. Alignment starts by naming the destination. For organizations, that shows up as mission and vision. For leaders, it's clarity about what the season actually requires. For individuals, it's purpose. What truly matters now, not what used to. Say it out loud. Clarity that stays internal rarely shapes decisions. Once it's named, decisions finally have something to be measured against. Then ask one simple question when you have a decision to make. Does this decision move us toward what matters or away from it? That's it. Not perfection, not intensity, consistency. Some days pressure will win. Old patterns will resurface. Identity, whether it's personal or cultural, isn't shaped by those moments. It's shaped by what you return to. If you've ever been to a whiskey tasting, you take notes on what you experience so you can remember those things that really stood out to you. Here's what stood out to me from this conversation. Your tasting notes may be different. 1. Culture is the compound result of decisions. Organizational culture and personal brand are shaped the same way. Significance isn't blocked by effort, but by misalignment. You can work hard and still dilute what you're trying to build. And the third point is identity forms when decisions become normal. What no longer feels optional is who you are becoming. Great whiskey doesn't happen by accident. Every decision is aligned. Every choice is consistent. Every element is true to what it is meant to become. The same is true for leadership. The same is true for culture. And the same is true for us. Our past decisions explain how we got here, but our future decisions determine who we will become. As you move forward, remember, clarity isn't found. It's crafted. Thanks for listening to Crafted Clarity. If you're a leader wrestling with the tension between success and significance, or you're trying to align your work with a deeper calling, I'd love to connect with you. If your organization is facing questions about strategy, whether it's alignment, ROI, or building confidence in your team, this is the work we do every day at iBrand. And if you walk this journey yourself, or maybe you're right in the middle of it, I'd love to hear your story and maybe even share it here on the podcast. You can find me at craftedclarity.net.